Hello and welcome back to my hobby bench. My name is Ken and we're going to continue on today with the Tamiya 1/48 scale M1A2 Abrams. Let's get started. When we last left off, we were building our optics here for our Abrams. They're now complete and we're going to continue on to step 14. Now in step 14 they're going to have us attach our optics, the tops of the storage boxes here on the side, and as well as attach some of the turret parts, it just says, which is I believe just storage racks. There's also the, I believe this is where the spare smoke grenades are held for the smoke dischargers, as well as the tow cable. The tow cable I'm going to add later, and I'm going to paint it separate and not on the vehicle. I find it easier to do that, especially when your eyes start getting a little older like mine are. It just makes things easier. And then step 15 will have us doing pretty much most of the same stuff on the other side, as well as adding some, I think this is a windage sensor, and it's part of the back of the turret as well. So we'll get moving on to that, and I'll come back when I have all the parts ready to go. I have my parts cut out now, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about them. If you notice on part C12 here, which is the railings around the outside, they do make note over here on the side that there are these little parts at the very front where the curve is. I don't know how well you can see that, but these extra little pieces in between are just extra bits we don't need. So what we'll do is I will, as per standard, cut them out and clean them up. There we go. Let's take a sanding stick to it. Careful not to break them off. Can be kind of tricky. I'll get to that a little bit more off camera when I can get it closer to me. They also mention in the instructions here for both C3 and C4, part of the sprue connection points are actually still on the bottom. Here's the top. On the bottom here, they have these slanted connection points. So we have to make sure we clean those off as well for these to sit properly on the vehicle. So the last item then that they bring special note to is the tow cable. You can see it gets bent up a little bit to get in there. But again, like I said, this is going to go with the other parts that are going to be painted separately. So I'll put that aside. I'll clean up these top hatch covers as well as this railings, and then I'll come back and we'll put them on the vehicle. So just to clean these little sprue attachment points off these hatches, I've just taken my sprue cutters. I've trimmed down a little bit here, best I can. And I'm coming in here with a sanding stick on the coarse side. This is the skinny. I'm just running it back and forth here. If you don't have a skinny, a regular one should do as well. You're just kind of going against this inside lip here, and then you can work the area like that. And just come back here with the higher grit area. There we go. Just like that. Now to clean up on these bars here that have a little extra bit, I'm going to hold this piece of the part as close as I can to where I need to sand on the end here. I just want to make sure that I don't want to hold it back here because I don't want it to move too much and break off. So I'm going to stabilize as much as I can, and then come in and Again, I'm just using the friction. I'm not pushing. Not forcing down, but I am forcing it across. That's it. Just like that. Here's our parts all cleaned up now, so we're just going to add them to the kit. So we want to make sure that we have the right toolbox, I'll call them toolboxes, I guess, covers. We want to make sure we have them on the correct side. So when you put it on there, you should have the little handles actually closer to the inside of the vehicle. You don't want to have it this way where they're to the outside. So that would be incorrect. This piece would go over here, and this piece goes over here. So I will get those glued in place, and then we'll carry on. Okay, that's all glued on. Now we're going to move over and I'll put on my optics. Here we have the gunner sight. So we'll put that on. Again, just using capillary action with the glue. Let it get seep under there or get sucked under there and hold it in place, just like that. Okay, now we'll put this is the Commander's thermal sight, I believe this is. We're gonna put some glue here. You can see we have a little notch up front here, and that's make sure that you have the thermal sight centered in the right spot. There we go, clicked into place. I'll add a little bit more glue. There we go. Just like that. Here we have our little box, I guess, ammo box for the smoke dischargers. At least that's what I was told it was, so I have no reason to disbelieve it. So we're going to make sure the hinged shorter part is to the top. It just goes on these two little marks right here with the two little pins on the back. Just like that. And then finally, we're going to be adding our bars here. Now, this is just going to fit in here. We have a little pin here, and that's going to go into this hole here. That way you know you have it lined up. So just like that, fits in beautifully. I'll just put a little glue on that pin area to hold that in place. Now I'm going to come in here, and where the rails attached to the side of the vehicle, I'll just throw a little glue there, just like that. And maybe a little bit back here. There we go. So there we have this side of the tank done. When we come back, we'll be moving on to stage 15, which is some of the same with the rails along the side, but we also have that new component along the back. So I'll be right back when I get those parts cut out. So here I've been sanding the connection points here on this set of racks or bars, and I've sanded too hard and I broke it. Now luckily for me, I still have these connection points here, haven't been removed, so that's going to permit me to almost set it like a bone. So there we go, I've put it together. I'm going to take some of my glue, I'm going to put it in the seam there. Now I'm going to set this aside, I'm going to let it dry for a while for that part to set up. So unfortunately that will slow me down, but it's something that needs to be done. So I'll put that aside, I'll let it dry. In the meantime, I'll get the rest of my parts ready. So here we have all our parts cut out and cleaned up, ready for attachment However, to be honest with you, this is actually the first tow cable. The second one I was working on was actually broken as well here, as you can see, right on the sprue. So you need to be careful with your sprues. But again, I'll do the same thing I did with those bars. I'll kind of put them together like you would when you're setting a broken bone, or at least how I imagine it would be. Put the ends together, and we're just going to run some glue in there. Oh, and just like, hopefully like this. There we go. And I'll set that aside because I don't really need to worry about that one until I get to the painting. So, we'll add the rest of these parts. I've got this piece fixed up a bit. Looks good for now. This is a little bit off, but I can adjust it when it goes back on the vehicle. So we'll attach this part first. Again, there's a little hole here for the little peg on the back of the railing. And hopefully we can get it lined up like that. There we go. Stop sliding around when you get it in the right spot. Now I'll add my extra thin like that, as well as on the sides. Like this. And now try to get this piece to go back against the hull, so I put some extra thin on it. There we go. Just like that. Next, we'll take our ammo box here for the grenades. This time I will not put glue on first. I will just drop it into place like that. Try to slide it. It's in its pegs, or in the little slots, so we're good. And we'll just take some glue, like that, and like that. There we go. And on the back of the turret, we have our pieces. These are B13 and B21, and this is a B21 would be the wind sensor or windage. That's something you have to worry about when you're firing over long distances, is what the winds are like. When I was in the artillery, when we were firing really far distances, you would actually have to take into account the rotation of the earth as well, because those rounds could be flying for quite a little while for a big round to come flying out of the sky. So you needed to know your weather, you needed to know like how your winds were, you needed to know the rotation of the earth, but only for extreme long ranges did it really matter, because artillery is an area effect weapon. So we got that first part on. Next we'll have our two little tabs here. They're going to go into the little holes on the back. So we'll glue that up and attach it. There we go. Just like that. So I'm going to check it again. I got this piece here. Could be rotated. You know what? I'm going to leave it. It's very minor, not really noticeable, especially when you have the whole thing together. So there we go. Aside from our tow cables, we are complete on stage 15. So when I come back, we'll move on to stage 16, which will be the rear bustle rack for storage. And then moving on, we'll look at attaching it. So I'll be right back once I got all these parts pulled out and sanded up and cleaned up. I have the parts for step 16 all cut out here. But there is one part here I haven't cleaned up yet that I want to point out. It's this connection point on the base of the bustles, like that. It's got these hinges here, and it sticks out fairly far, and I just want to make note, I don't want anybody cutting them off by accident, because I think I've done that before in other tanks when I was less experienced. So I've cut it off to my sprue attachment point way out here, leaving the hinge there. Cut it down a little bit, and then I can sand it off. There we go. Doesn't take too much. And that way we haven't lost a piece of vital detail. So now I can attach these. So we have the upper part of the bustle, and we have the lower part, and they're just going to sit on each other, something like that. So I'm going to get them together and get them glued up, and we'll come back for putting on the rest of the parts. Actually, looking at this part, it is a little bit difficult to get glued on, so I'm going to show what I do. And we're just going to, there's all these points down here at this end, not the hinged end or side, the other side. There we go. This is a little bit more difficult to show you, because now I'm so far away from this. But we're going to put it up there on the ledge piece. Oh, there we go. And then the sides are caught. So I'll put a little glue on there. And there. There we go. And we have our part glued up. I'll let that dry for a short moment and I'll be right back. So our next step is to add these two end parts to our bustles. And you can see here I've got this one added. However, with this one, look at that, I've broken another piece. But it hasn't broken all the way off yet, so we're going to be very careful with it and try to work with it best we can. So I'm going to take some glue. I'm going to put it along the ledge here where this bracket piece is going to go. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my bracket piece. You can see one side's got the lips on it to help hold it into place. Like that. So it grabs onto this bottom part here and this side one here. And we'll move this post just a little bit out of the way without breaking it. Let me get close to myself here for a moment. There we go. Oh. Big fingers, big troubles. There we go. So I've got them glued together now. Now I can try to get these posts into these positions for it. There's the first one. And we'll add a little glue, put that in place. Now, let's see what we can do with this other one. I'm going to try to be as careful as I can. No promises. I'll take it. There we go. Gotta be quiet, I don't want to scare it away. Put a little glue there. Just have to check, make sure I'm on camera. Would not be good if I did all this work for nothing. There we go. Come on. Add it for a second. There we go. In place. And it's glued. So, because it hasn't broke, I'm not going to add glue there. I don't want to soften that joint where it kind of bent. But I can set this down here and move on to part 17, which has us adding some parts to the bustles, some brackets, and as well as a couple antennas. So we'll come back and we'll work on stage 17. I have my parts out ready for step 17 now. I do have my antennas here, but I have left the sprue attachment point on them. If you can see that there. And the reason is for that is I'm going to be painting these, again, separate off the vehicle. They are to be painted a different color. Tamiya wants you to paint them in XF85, which is the rubber black like we use for the tracks. But I think any other black color would work as well. Ideally, though, not straight black. You want something that's a little bit off, like a rubber black or a NATO black, something like that. So I'm going to put these in the pile of other parts that need to be painted later, and we'll carry on. We have our bustles here, and we have these connection points. Now, looking at the instructions, there's something to note here. There's a 1 and the 2. So what that means is they want us to put the bustles on first. So it's going to attach at those points along the side here, as well as those hinged parts on the bottom are going to go into the grooves on the bottom of the turret, which you'll find right here, those 3 holes. Then step 2 will be to implant these parts here, which I have cut out and cleaned up right here. So let's do this. Be careful now. We do have this wind sensor on here. I don't want to mess that up. So carefully set it down. Put our bustles in place with the hinge parts. Hopefully I'm still on camera. Yeah. Here we go. And I'll put some of my extra thin on there to pin them in place. Give that a few seconds here, and then we'll be able to flip this over. Oh, that was too soon. Too soon. There we go. Let's try that again. Okay, we'll do this still upside down. So now we have our point here where we can connect. So we'll do that. We'll level it out here so it kind of matches on height. That's probably a little too much glue, but that'll work. And then we'll move over to this side. My hinge parts were popping out again. I'll put a little more glue there. And here we go. Yeah, that's still straight and attached. There we go. Now I can turn it back like that. Again, remember, be careful of any parts you have sticking up if you put your antennas on, anything like that. So next we'll take these brackets. They are parts B39 and B40. And if you look closely on it, you can see that one side has this fake looking hinge, the other side really doesn't. So the hinge part we want facing to the outside of the vehicle. So I find my spot where that goes. Let me take a closer look. So it's gonna go right. Oh, my glue's coming apart here. There we go. I'm going to give it a minute or two here to set up, and then we'll come back and we'll attach these parts. Okay, so I've got the first one put in. I had to use tweezers because my fingers are just too big. So what you're going to do is take some glue and put it right down in this corner. And I hope you can see this. Just right along here, along this side. You can put a little bit up that corner. Now I'm going to take our part here, part B40. I'm going to make sure that the nice hinge part with the pin is to the outside of the vehicle again. I'm going to grab it here with my tweezers. I'm just going to put it in place here. Now, if you look, it does have a little cutout, and that cutout is going to go over this little part down in here. Okay, so it took me a moment to figure that out on the first one, but hey, I can pass that information on to you, and hopefully that'll give you an easier time managing. So we'll put it in place. Kind of like that. Ooh. Big fingers again. Alright. There we go. Put it in place. Nope. Gonna have to put a little glue again. So a little glue. Up the side. Unfortunately, if you take too long, the glue does go ahead and evaporate on you. And then the plastic starts to re-solidify and you can't really weld the parts together. There we go, got it sticking in place. I'm just going to get it in there like that. Bring it close to me for a moment. My apologies. There we go, it just goes to the other side. There's a little lip there. So, and then the spare part of this bar will go into that notched out area. Alright. And of course this is all easier said than done. As I try to fight to get this on camera. There we go. I wonder if it'll help if I stick my tongue out and concentrate really hard. Maybe. Jury's out on whether that helped or not. Okay, it's still kind of crooked, so I'll try and take my tweezers here and tuck it in place. Big thumb knocking it out. It can be kind of tricky. There we go. I think I got it. Alright, so that's it for that stage. We'll come back, we'll work on stage 18, which is just creating our auxiliary power unit to go back in here, as well as putting on a combat identification panel on the back. So I'll get those parts out and ready to go, and we'll come right back. Here's our parts for step 18. We have our auxiliary power unit parts, and we have our combat identification panel. So, what we need to do with our APU, our auxiliary power unit, is put the parts together now that they're cleaned off. So, take a close look at them here. And it wants us to connect them like this. Just give them a bit of a dry fit. Ooh. There we go. Yep, fits. Take a little bit of my glue. There we go. Just like that. So it kind of wants it the L shape of the first part, like that. And then this top part here is going to come up and jut out going that way. Take the other side. Again, apply our glue. I guess I should have. I guess I'm bad for that is dry fitting. But this is Tamiya kit, and they usually go together really well. There we go. That's those two. Next we deal with parts B27 and B31. So B27 goes in underneath. These, I don't know what they are, panels, grills, obviously going to go to the top like that. Fits really good. Okay, so I'll take some glue, glue that up. There we go. As soon as it kind of caught there and started holding by itself, I moved my fingers, kind of slope them away from those seams in case any glue seeps out. I don't want to leave any fingerprints. There we go. Yep, that's all there. Now we'll take our lid here. Now if you look, it has two little tabs here and here. And then on the inside, it has a small point here and a larger one here. So I believe it's the small one is the one that'll actually fit in there. Ooh. So we'll make sure our small one is set up. We'll try it out. Yep, that's how it goes. If I were to try to put it the other way, I don't think it would fit. Let's try. Yeah, nope. Doesn't close properly. That part's too big. So we'll go back the proper way. So it looks like it's been engineered, so you shouldn't have any problems getting it on there the proper way. So I think what I'm going to do, try and prevent some seepage, I'll glue up the outside first, glue in where that peg's going to go, like that. Take it and just place it in place. There we go. Just like that. Now we'll add it into position. The APU kind of goes right in this spot right in here. So we kind of look at it here and just to see. Oh, make sure our holes are facing the right way. And we have our two pegs here that will go into those holes. So we'll just test it out first. Me and my big fingers. There we go, found the spot. So, fits well, we'll take a little bit of our glue, put them on those pegs. Drop that into place. Find our holes again. There we go. I can kind of see from the back side here where the holes were. So just have it at the right angle. There we go. And I can take some more of my glue now. Just give it a run along the seam. That capillary action. Suck that glue in there. And next we have our combat identification panel, or I guess CIP panel. So it has on here a little lip on the back to be sitting on the bars, and two little round peg holes. And if you look on the rear bustle here, we have the two little pegs here. They're going to go in those holes. So that means this panel has these sloped parts facing downward. So it's going to slope out and away each level. So I'll take my glue again. I'll put a little bit of glue in these peg holes and right along this bracket piece here. And make sure I have everything lined up. So just like that. There we go. We'll give it a little bit more glue. Make sure it holds like it should. Here we go. Should be good. Let that dry off. And while that's drying, we're going to come back and work on step 19. In step 19, they're going to have us putting together the commander's hatch, or commander's cupola, as well as the M2 heavy machine gun, that's the 50 caliber, and the 7.62 millimeter machine gun, which is the loader's machine gun. So we'll grab all the parts and I'll be right back. Here's our parts all cleaned up and ready to go. So we can begin here with our commander's cupola. So we have this ring around here that's going to go around the sights. For the sights here, they want you to put the decals on now, or at least they tell you what decals to go on now. And of course, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to do that after I paint, or as far as I'm concerned with the view ports, they could also be painted if you so desired. So we'll look on our top portion here. If you look here with the shape here, it's got the cutouts here. That's going to go to the rear, right here. So that way the hatch can open. So, line everything up like that. All the points are in. Fits good, so we'll take that part away, put a little glue on our points, like that. Take our part back. And with our oversized fingers, put it back in place. You can feel that it's in the little notches, so it's good to go. We have the top of our hatch here. It has I guess the little seal part here, which can kind of go in this hole here and provide a good seal against chemical attacks, that sort of thing. So it does have little rounded hooks on it, which are going to go into these little side notches here. So I'm just going to test fit it and see how it goes. That side fits okay, and that side fits okay. Yep, so it's going to fit. Should be just fine. So I'll take out my glue and put a little glue on my connection points there and there. Drop the part in place. Make sure it's in. And then if you want, we can add a little extra glue for strength. There and there. There we go. There's our commander's hatch. Now we'll move on to the next part here, which is the commander's 50 caliber machine gun. So what we're going to do is we take our main machine gun itself, and I'll take the trigger assembly here. Just going to test to see how it fits. Yeah, it seems to fit okay. I had it backwards though. There we go. So this part here has a bit of a loop coming down. The downward part that juts out is going to go towards the weapon itself. So again, I'll take a little bit of my glue, prepare the part, make sure I have it the right way this time. Oh. There we go. And then it'll just connect down here and there. A little extra glue for strength. There we go. Next, we see here we have the mount for the machine gun. It says you don't glue it, because this way, if you don't, you can put it on here and then you can have the machine gun on top in here, and then you can still swivel it up and down. So I'm going to leave this part off for now so I can paint the machine gun. It'll go to the rest of the pile of the rest of the parts And then also for the machine gun, the 50 cal, we have this ammo box with a strip of 50 caliber ammo to go into the machine gun itself. So I'm going to take a close look. And the bullets themselves are not actually bullet shaped, they're just shaped like little tubes sitting there. So I'm going to figure out which way this goes. Alright, so I had this upside down. So this box actually, the bottom is just empty. The top actually has this little piece in here for ammunition to sit in. So we can see we have our bracket molded in here for what the machine gun ammo box would sit in. So that's going to be on the side of the machine gun itself. I'll take my glue, put it in there. Take my ammo. You can see it's got one side, oops. It's got one side that has just the bolts hanging, and then it has the other part that's boxed off. The boxed off part will go in the box, obviously, and the other will sit in the air as it leads off into the machine gun itself. So there we go, have the parts glued together, and that's it. Now I'm also not going to attach the ammo right now at this time to the machine gun, because I want to be able to paint them separate. So there we go. For now, I'll put that away. For now, I'm going to put this machine gun mount up in here, like that. Again, it's not, well, I didn't have it glued in, but it looks like I may have to. So, the side with the big round circle here, the other side doesn't have it. The circle side is going to go towards, as the commander's sitting here, he's looking this way, so it's going to be onto his right side. So, I'll put a little drop of extra thin in there. And there we go. Just like that. Now, if we move on to our loader's machine gun, his is already connected to its bracket already. And we have our parts here that are going to get painted afterwards. And that's where this machine gun's going to end up sitting. Just in there like that. So, we'll take our firing mechanism here. And we'll attach it to the back of the weapon. So this one here just simply goes into these little notches on the very back. So, just there. So, I'm going to dry fit it first. Sorry, I'm going to have to bring it closer to me just to see. Yeah, so, put a little glue on there. And on this side. And we'll attach it. Probably should be using tweezers again. But it would be a little easier for me and my large fingers. Let's try that again. So we'll put our glue in place. Take our tweezers this time. Pick up the part. And put it in place. Again, it's one of those easier said than done things. Well, I'm going to get this part put on, and I'll be right back. So this is where attention to detail comes into effect here. I was trying to glue the part onto here, but I actually glued underneath, right against this bracket. And if we look on our instructions, sure enough, it's pointed right there. So don't make the same mistake I did. Don't try to attach it way back here. You want to attach it right underneath here. And as for the ammo can, again, I'll paint that separate. So, and then it can be attached to the gun afterwards. So, that does it for stage 19. We'll get these parts ready and we'll move on to stage 20. Here we are on step 20. This is the last step for assembling the turret. We have our parts here all cleaned up, ready to go. So we're going to take this piece here, which is C19, and we're going to put it in place on the turret, just like that. Now, when you go to put it in place, it does have an angled part, which you can see matches up here, but more importantly, it has a hole here and a peg on the bottom. So you just put the peg in the hole, there we go, and we'll apply our glue. There we go. Now we also have our smoke dischargers. We have one for each side of the turret. And all we got to do is take it like this, so it's like a V. And you want it to be V-shaped. You don't want it to be tent-shaped. So we'll have it like that. Oh. And then the smoke discharger itself will go on top of that. Sorry if my big finger is going in the way. You know, it was much easier when I didn't have the camera rolling. Okay. There we go. Oh, you know what? Where are we? You know what? I'm going to pause this and try to put it together a little closer to me, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got the first one together. Found my mistake, so we'll again take it, keep it like a V shape, and then we'll put it in, but we're going to line up the top first. If you line up the top, it just falls into place. Just like that. We'll take this. We'll get a little bit of our glue in there with capillary action. Just like that. And a little bit along the side. See, it's stuck together already. We'll put a little bit more glue for strength in there. And we're good. There we go. So, we'll take our first one we completed here. You can see it's got two little pegs, and they're going to match up with the two little divots here on the side of the hull, or our side of the turret. So I'm going to take this. Careful where I grab, I don't want to knock anything off or break anything. Just going to check my fit here. And it fits kind of like that, I guess. There we go. So we'll line up our pegs again. You know what's going to be easier? Let's put a little glue there first. There we go. There we go. Just like that. Now I can see that this little bar here popped out. So I'm just going to put a little more glue in there and push it back into place. There we go. You can even take it and you can give it a little bit of a breeze to help it solidify quicker. There we go, now it's back in place. I'm going to attach my other smoke grenade launcher, or smoke discharger. Put our glue in, take our 2 pins. There we go, kind of. I'll try that again with the glue. There we go. There. Just like that. You don't want them sitting all the way back. You should be facing forward still. So there's those. Now we have our 2 combat identification panels. Now if we look here at the back, there are 2 holes, one larger one and one smaller one. And these are going to go on the side of the vehicle here, on these bars. Now if you look here, there is a large piece to go in the large hole, and a small one to go in the small hole. So, I'll put a little glue on those 2 points, and take our panel and just fit it into place. Well, put a little bit there on the panel. There we go. Kind of like that. There we go. So the top of the panel, for it to fit in the hole, should be roughly the same height as the top of this tool box here. So we have it. Now I can take a little extra glue and just slide it in there, just to keep this panel in place. We'll take our other one, put a little bit there and there, flip this over, and also put a little bit there and there. Take our panel again, and I suppose I could look a little closer. There we go. So there, in place again, just as high pretty much as the other one. Yeah. So there we go, there's that. We can take our commander's hatch. I'm not going to glue it in yet, but that goes in place over here. Oh, now there is a little notch here that goes into this little groove over here. So we'll take that. We'll find the spot. There we go. Put our hatch back on. Like that. We can take this middle piece here for the loader's hatch. Just kind of set it in place. And that's where your machine gun would go. Kind of like that. So that's it. That's it for your turret. The last step, step 21, has you put everything together and you're done. So we'll move off. I'll show you what's left on 21 and we'll look at ending the episode there. So here we have it. This is the final step, step 21. Here we have our commander. If you want to add him to your vehicle, you can see right now I have the hatch closed, but I can't open it. I haven't glued it in place. So you could open it, glue it in the open position, and add your commander. So the commander goes together really easy. His arms do have little square markings for which way the orientation is, because he does have his hands kind of down on his cupola for this casting. So I'm going to glue his head and arms on and we'll come right back. So here we have our commander completed. I'm going to put him in here in the open hatch now and see how he fits. He fits perfectly. His arms are resting on the top of the cupola, just like that. The very last thing they have you do is put your turret on. Now if we look at our turret, it's got two cutouts here and here. And those are for these two tabs here and here on the ring of the turret. So what you have to do is put the turret on sideways, kind of like this. Find the spot, it drops in, and then you can rotate your turret. And then it stays attached, just like that. And that would be a completed build if you've attached all your parts. Now some of you may be saying, wait a minute, I still have some parts left over. On the A sprue, we have two sets of A sprues, which have parts A7 and A19. But don't worry, if you take your instructions and we go back to the very beginning and go to the first page of instruction, you'll see a list of parts not used, which is parts A7 and A19. So we're no longer worried about these parts. That means we can dispose of these sprues, which concludes our build. So I want to thank you for joining me. When we come back next time, we'll get involved in priming and painting. I'll try to show you a little bit of brush painting, and then we'll move over to the airbrush and paint with the airbrush. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time, and take care.